Hello friends, do you know how to use a multimeter? In today's video, we are going to learn the same. Using a multimeter is not a great task. In general, we have several types of multimeters. The first one is of unity, the second one is of Fluke, and then Mastec. After this, the most common one is the first one. Now let's start learning about the unity multimeter. Here you can find a display in which the values are shown and several sets of measurements. In the first set, we have the DC voltage, then resistance, then diode or continuity test, then DC ampere and the AC voltage. At first, we are going to measure the DC voltage. The range of the DC voltage is from 200 mV to 500 volts. Now let's start measuring it. For measuring the voltage, just connect the positive and the negative probes to the positive and the negative terminal of the battery. We can see the voltage of the battery currently is 1.38 volts. Now let's use a battery eliminator to check the variable voltages that is provided by it. Let's connect the positive and the negative terminal of the probes to the positive and the negative terminals of the battery eliminator. Here we have set the range as 20 volts as we are not going to use more than 20 volts in this case. We can see when we adjust the battery eliminator, the voltage shown on the display of the multimeter also varies. Now it's time to measure the AC voltage. Its range is 250 volts and 500 volts. Now let's measure the DC ampere. For this, we have to follow a specific circuit. We have to attach the multimeter in series with the circuit. For example, this is our power source, this is our load, and we have to attach the ammeter in series with our circuit as shown in the circuit diagram. For this, we have to change our probe. We have to attach the positive terminal of our probe to 10 amperes. Now all the connections are made, and if we connect these two, then we can see our motor starts rotating and in display it shows 0.02. When we hold the shaft of our motor, the current draw increases and this can be indicated on our ammeter. Please note that if we want to measure very small currents, we can adjust our knob in the same way. Now comes a complicated part to measure the HFE of our transistor. Here we are going to use a BC547 transistor, and now we have to recognize the EBC pins and insert them in the respective positions which are given on the multimeter. After pressing it for some time, we can see the values of the HFE of the transistor is being shown up in the display of the multimeter. We can also test PNP transistors in the same way on the respective positions on the multimeter. Now let's check out the continuity and the diode checking mode. We can see when we touch both the probes of the multimeter, some of the values is being shown up in the display and the beep sound is heard. We can check the continuity of the wire in the same manner, that a wire is working or it's broken in some of the points. We can also check a diode in the same manner. In one direction, the values are shown up in the display, and in the other direction, none of them is shown. Now it's time to measure the resistance of some of the resistors. For this, we have to select the resistance mode in our multimeter. We can simply connect both of the probes of the multimeter to both ends of the resistor, and we can see the values shown up in the display of the multimeter. This resistor is of 0.2K, that is around 200 ohms or 220 ohms. We can see the value of this resistor is 0.1K. If we want to know it in minute, we can reduce the multimeter to its previous range, and we can see that the value of the resistor is around 100 ohms. Now let's check the next resistor. We see that no values are being displayed on the display. Let's change the range to the upper range, and then also the problem persists. And we have to keep on changing the range until we see some of the values. These are the basics of a multimeter that everyone needs to know. Thank you for watching my video.